We are Lauren and Jeff, and we have two black-cap conures, Kiwi and Tiki. Tiki! Tiki! I would say my biggest struggle was counting to 5. I think it was really hard for me to not overtrain because our guys didn't really have too much of a motivation problem once we got them on the proper diet. And so they were super motivated, they always wanted to do things, and I would say Dave really taught me it was important to make sure you end the training session before your bird ends the training session. And so it was very important for me to stop when it was hitting a really good point and not go further. And so he really coached me into doing 5 repetitions, and there were so many times when I'd be like, was that 5? I'll do one more. And so it was probably my biggest struggle.
I'd say the emotional conditioning was actually the most important piece for our birds. They were a little flighty, they weren't used to loud noises or being outside.
All right, now we are closer obviously to the edge of the garage and hoping the wind picks up a little bit more. Yeah, here we go. All right. Kiwi! That was Kiwi this time. Okay. Tiki! Tiki! Good job, buddy.
And as smaller birds that are hard to see if they buzz away from us, it was a major concern about bringing them outside. With what happens if they spook and they bolt and we can't find them. So getting them used to loud noises and emotional conditioning to desensitization to objects that they were afraid of ended up being a really important part of the training, even though it's not flying.
Yeah, and it was hard too because you never knew what was going to spook them,
right.
So it was not always easy to figure out what to desensitize
the big clock.
them to.
Tiki's never scared of anything, and then Lauren brings a clock home from her office one day and it freaks him out.
I had no idea. So here's the scary clock from yesterday, and I want to see if we can overcome some fears. Okay, buddy. I'm going to step close and give him a treat as I step close. Good job, buddy. I didn't take it away. Kiwi! Come on, Minnie. You didn't seem that scared of the clock yesterday. Good job. Okay, I owe you one because you touched it. All right, guys, good job. Maybe next time I'll try with the clock up. Thank God we figured it out and we worked through that because one of our days free flying, there were ATVs all over the sand dunes, and when he was super chill, I was just so thankful for that training because that was the moment that we needed the desensitization the most. So Kiwi will be 19 this coming February and Tiki is 17 and a half, so definitely they're older, especially for conures. So we decided to pursue the free flight course with such small birds because I have had them their whole life, and when I went to grad school, I knew it was going to be a lot of work to do grad school and take care of them at the same time. So I actually had a friend take care of them for 6 years. They were cage bound for the most part. I mean, they came out, but they really didn't get one-on-one attention. And so when I discovered BirdTricks and saw everything that was possible, I thought, why not give my guys, you know, the best life they can have and the gift of flight to really make up for that time and to build our bond, not just through trick training, but eventually a bond strong enough that they'd come back to me if I were to free fly them outside. And so we decided to go through the course, and luckily we were taken on even though we're the littlest flyers, and it's been a really rewarding experience. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned throughout the whole course is about permission-based training. It's something that I never did with either of them for their whole life, and I would say, for example, Tiki is a completely different bird after trick training him, doing the flight training, and just knowing that when I use permission-based training, our bond is really strong, and so that then allows me to set myself up for success when I want to train with them. And so that was something I never implemented before, but it's made the biggest difference in their training, and it's really the foundation that everything else is based on, because when we're out in the field, it's all about trust. And if they know that I'm not gonna throw them or send them when they're saying, they're sending me signals that says, no, don't throw me, then they'll come to me, right? And I'll be somebody they want to come back to. So I think permission-based training has been just a transformational concept for me.
That's a really interesting story. And for context, Lauren, when I didn't know the birds until 1.5 years ago when she recovered them after grad school. So she described Tiki as Tiki monster. He's unhandleable, he's gonna bite your toes, he's gonna ignore you, and if you touch him, he's gonna snip at you or bite you. You can't interact with him. And that's just not been my experience of him at all. So Lauren swears he's a completely different bird than before implementing the training diet and permission-based training. So I feel like there's probably a lot of truth to that, but she has the perspective to speak to that more than I do. For me, it's letting the birds fail. It's just walking away after you try once or twice and they don't respond, and letting them realize that, letting them figure out what they didn't do right and work through the problem on their own. They're really, really intelligent, and if you just expect more from them, they tend to step up and step up their game, no pun intended. And there's no participation trophies in bird training.
That's true. So my expectations for coming out here, what I tried really hard to do is actually not have any expectations. I know that expectations can be pre-planned resentments. So because of their age and because they were so small, I kind of really went into this being like, I'm going to get as much out of this as I can. I knew that even if we weren't ready, or if we got out there and the winds were too much, or for any reason, Jamie and Dave decided that it was just, this is not safe, we shouldn't do this. I have full confidence in the program and full confidence in their judgment. So it was kind of like, I'm going to get out there, and if the training is all there and the conditions are right, let's just start really small, and wherever we get, because again, flying such small birds, I didn't really know what to expect or if we'd be able to go that far.
I did not.
Oh, sorry, I'll pay attention to.
Woo! Tiki! Tiki! Hey, buddy! Tiki! Tiki! I'm gonna have one of you grab this, Conures, so that this one comes back.
Wee wee.
There we go.
Tiki bird!
Awesome.
Yeah, come on, buddy!
Come on up!
Back here!
Up, 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 up! Oh, exhausted.
That's okay.
So just have him step up because he's pretty tired. Good job. He really stuck around though.
He's got sand all in his mouth.
Yeah, offer water.
Okay. That's okay, bud.
He just face planted a little.
Okay. So again, I just tried to go into it with, if we get really good exploratory flights and they build their confidence, that's all gravy. It's a bonus. It's just like a gift for them to be able to fly and stretch their wings as much as they can, be outside. But I didn't really have any grand ambitions that I wanted to launch them off a cliff. I think that would give me a heart attack. So starting small and building up is all I really wanted to be able to do.
I think Dave and Lauren entered the course together with the expectation and the understanding that this was an experiment for both of them, and that neither of them had ever really worked with a bird this small, and the goal was to be as safe as possible and get as far as we could go. And I remember on the first call, Lauren said, look, like we're scientists by training, so we're going to do the experiment, and if it works, it works, and if they can get it out to the outside portion of the course, then great. But if we have to pull the plug and we have to call it, then we're okay with that, and we're willing to try if you are. And Dave was willing to take Lauren and Kiwi and Tiki on. So
And we're so grateful because they did awesome. Some say excited.
well, remember, use your gut, but trust in Dave.
No, yeah, trust your gut, but mostly trust Dave.
Right.
There's a T-shirt out there somewhere waiting.
Yes.
for you.
Yeah. I know.
Lauren has.
There's
not
a draft
yet
of it
Yeah, there is a
on
draft,
the
but
internet.
it's not screen printed yet.
This experience for
Training
me,
wheels for a macaw.
also that. But actually, I've learned a lot about myself throughout this process, not just for the birds. So by virtue of taking the course, right, I have to film every training session and then send it to Dave, which means I'm watching myself do the training session, and I'm watching myself screw up and click at the wrong time and overtrain and have crazy energy that, like, if I were the bird, I would not want to train either. And so I would say that this experience taking the whole course has not just been amazing for me to understand the concepts of free flight, but it's also helped me to learn about myself and develop as a trainer. I think even after I'm done with the course, I'm going to continue to video my own sessions because I've learned so much from that. So the experience has been rewarding for me personally, as well as has really helped me build the bond with the bird. I would say one of the best things is just the perfect recall, even just around the house now. Like, even though we're not going to like free fly necessarily in our area because we can't due to conditions, predators, the skills that we learned throughout this experience are applicable everywhere at home. So it's just amazing now to be like Kiwi Tiki, or one word Kiwi Tiki, and they just like come to us. So it's just been phenomenal.
Not that. That's great. Good answer. Good answer.
When I saw everyone else's journey on this trip, it just reinforced what Dave and Jamie always say, which is that every bird is different, every journey is different. There is not a set of rules or steps you can follow and be able to safely free fly your bird, because everybody's journey on this trip in particular, all the birds were different sizes, they were different ages. We had like
Yeah.
brand new babies, we had our
20-year-old Conures.
nearly 20-year-old Conures, and the approaches and the skills, and even just the first day outside, how all the birds reacted differently was super different. So, you know, I will say it's really inspiring for me to see some of the larger birds be able to handle more wind and be launched off the top of a dune. It's just beautiful and majestic, and again, that's
like 8 months old.
at
right?
8 months old.
Yeah.
So it's like really inspiring for me, and it definitely, you know, contributes to the desire to one day get another bird that we might be able to take the next step with. So this was an awesome introduction. So yeah, it was just really inspiring, but it definitely reinforced that there is no one way to do this, and that one-on-one coaching and training is like absolutely necessary for this kind of thing. It was very clear why I chose BirdTricks, and a little bit of a story. I'll cut it short. So I chose BirdTricks because I was super nervous to get my birds back after not being with them for 6 years while I was in school. So being really worried that they were going to hate me, that I abandoned them, one night I Googled how to repair your relationship with your bird. And up pops this video, and it was Jamie's video, entitled How to Bond with a Bird You Pissed Off, or something like that. And in the video, which featured Bandit, she was describing you should trick train to rebuild that bond and, you know, stay mentally engaged. I'm like, trick training, what's that? And then I went down this YouTube rabbit hole where I found all of these tricks that they were doing with their own birds. And then I realized, oh, in order to be able to have the foundation to do tricks, you need diet. Everybody say thank you to Jamie and Dave for the yummy homemade Nutriberry recipe in the BirdTricks cookbook. They are chowing down, and they love their almond butter with quinoa and rolled oats and feed your flock pellets. Yummy! Say thank you. Too busy eating. And all of these things. And so I studied all of their videos, all of their approach, because clearly it was working with their own birds, and they don't like cut up the videos in a way that it's obvious they're just like putting the final result. They show the mistakes, they show the process. I'm a scientist, so I'm really into data, and it was very clear. Everything was transparent. And so when we got the birds back from my friend across the country in New York, we implemented everything. And it all worked like very quickly. They took to touch training like that. They took to the pellets. They took to the fresh chalk. And like I said, the transformation was clear. And so it was obvious to me that there were results from day one that were so tangible and so clear that I didn't go looking anywhere else, because I knew that these people really know what they're talking about. They clearly know. I mean, they have a whole flock of birds, and their methods work on huge macaws, sun conures. They have a toucan. They have all these different birds. You know, what data could I need more than that? And I mean, as you like to say, you get what you pay for. And it was an extremely good investment. I would definitely do it again. We may well do it again if we get macaws. But yeah, it just wasn't worth looking anywhere else, because I could very clearly see through all the transparent information that was out there that all of their methods worked perfectly and worked really well. And I could understand why, when I would hear Dave say on BirdTricks Tuesdays and things, pick a trainer, pick a path. I know in my own profession, that's really important to have consistency. And so I have no regrets. It was awesome from day one and continues to be.
I think the thing I would add is the authenticity. Lauren has a nose for genuine people who are authentic and not fake. And from watching your videos and having a couple preliminary consults with both Jamie and Dave, she was completely sold that they are who they say they are. They come across in their videos exactly like they are when you meet them in person. I can say that now after a week out in the field. And that establishes a baseline of trust and a rapport that Lauren really was able to build off of. And
I'm a believer. I'm a total believer in BirdTricks. Every time, you know, we talk with friends that have birds, it's just like, you know, go to birdtricks.com, you know, email info@birdtricks.com, because, I mean, it's been just such a transformation for us, and everything that we've ever learned that we've implemented and really, like, committed to has worked for us.
so you can send a royalty check too.
So true, though. I'm a firm believer.
I mean, she literally, we went through Starbucks on the way back from the dunes the other day, and she had Kiwi and Tiki in the carrier, and the guy was like, oh, I've got an African gray, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, birdtricks.com!
Yeah, I was just
Check
like,
them
you
out.
can do it too!
Again, we were really concerned about tracking the birds and making sure we weren't going to lose them and being as safe as possible and minimizing risk to the extent that we were able to. So we outfitted both of our birds with some telemetry. Shout out Marshall. They were able to fly with these little 3-gram telemetry units on their tail feathers, despite being maybe 75 grams each. So we were worried that they were going to pick them out of the tail mount. And Tiki, from the moment we put it on, was like convinced he was going to pull his tail mount out. And at the dunes one day, we noticed that, you know, his flight path he was struggling with the tail mount, and we were starting to trust them a little more. So we took his telemetry off, and maybe 10 minutes later, he pulled out the tail feather with the tail mount. So he graduated just in time.
You guys, look at the little, like, look at the, it's like,
Little dinosaur tracks.
yeah,
Tiki, come on. What are you eating? Sand.
sand.
Brush your beak off.
Do you see their tracks?
Another fun moment for me, which doesn't have to do with our birds. Jeff has never interacted at all with any large...
Well, yeah, I've never interacted with any parrots until Kiwi and Tiki came into my
So
life.
he's
And I
never-
was extremely skeptical of having Kiwi and Tiki in my life. I said, Lauren, they're your birds. You're going to do everything. I'm going to ignore them. And actually watching BirdTricks videos before they arrived was a way that we bonded, but also she got me interested in the birds. It's like, well, they're not just pets that sit in a cage and squawk all the time. You can interact with them. You can do all these things with them. They have these big personalities. You can teach them things. And that got me out of my out of my Ebenezer Scrooge state with respect to parrots.
But my favorite thing is, on our way here, as we were driving here, he was like, so do you think I'll get a chance to hold a macaw? Because he had never interacted with a big bird before. And so, of course,
Day one,
Tegan takes her first flight or first exploratory flight and goes straight at Jeff.
Coming in.
And so, of course, the night before, Dave instructed us all that if there's a bird headed straight for you, put your hand
and they're
out.
struggling, right?
And
Yeah.
Jeff puts his hand out, and here comes Tegan. And it was just this magical moment for me, knowing that he had never even interacted with a bird that size before, that he caught this macaw after its first exploratory flight.
Turns out a macaw is much heavier than a conure.
Yeah, it's super true.
That's my takeaway from this trip.
Dave's working style worked really well for me because I think he did a really good job of explaining, okay, this is what I need you to do. Here's why, because I'm a little bit of a mix. There are times where I'm a why person and times where I'm a what person. And so I think he did a really good job kind of catering to, like, this is the exercise we're going to do, and the why behind this is the skill we're trying to build. And definitely, I remember in the beginning, he was like, when he was describing my energy and pointing out to me that my energy was like not the best for the bird, he was like, well, I noticed that, you know, you have this compassionate enthusiasm. And I was
She's intense.
I was like, that is definitely a euphemism for, like, if I were your bird, I wouldn't want to be working with you that way. So I felt like that was a really nice and gentle way. And I was like, okay, here's someone who's going to be honest with me, but they're going to be very tactful and gentle about it. So, like, I can read between the lines. But that was highly appreciated. And I think, like, he was really patient, but also, you know, he would go through with, like, the notes I have for you are, and he would
So
go
maybe
through
this
them.
week we should do what I said.
There was one time that, yeah, Dave was like, okay, so we're gonna do it this way, and then I, like, didn't do that at all. And I felt really bad. And I think I even said it, or I commented even in my video, and then the next week he was just honest, and he was like, so you didn't do what I said, and you hit failure. And I was like, yep, I'm terrible. And it was like our second, like, consult too, and I was like, oh, I'm that student.
I was so worried
upset
that day. She's like, it was like a kid who knew they were going to go to the principal's office
Yeah.
when I went to school.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, what is wrong with me? Like, trust your gut, but mostly trust Dave. Like, you gotta just trust. We brought on BirdTricks because we believe in BirdTricks and we know their process is good, so don't thwart the process, Lauren. That was definitely a tough one for me in the beginning. But after a while, it was just kind of like, all right, gotta do what Dave said. But he was so tactful in the way that he handled me. And
I also walked you off a ledge a few times. I remember the third or fourth week, she was like, how far do we have to go before we're ready to go outside? Because, like, we're only doing the recalls, and, like, oh my god, there's got to be 12 more skills that we need to learn, and there's only 3 more months. And he was like, yeah, if we had to go outside next week, it would probably be okay.
But also what he said to me was, it's my job to worry about those things. Like, you shouldn't be worried about those things. Don't worry, like, I got you. And I feel like that definitely helped. It certainly worked for my style, so I think we worked really well together. Every interaction is definitely a training session. There is no doubt about that. There are so many times when, like, that was the whole reason why I did not have, why Tiki's nickname was Tiki Monster beforehand, because there was no permission-based anything. It was always just like, get over here! And I would literally, like, pick him up sometimes. So no wonder he was...
would bite you.
No wonder he'd bite me. No wonder he was a monster. But I didn't know what I didn't know. And thanks to BirdTricks, I've completely shifted my mind frame on that. And so now every time I interact with them, I'm building trust, and I'm showing them that, hey, when I give you this cue or I ask you to step up, you will get this. And so every little moment, even if it's not a formal flight training session or a trick training session, is building trust and helping them trust in me that there's going to be consistency. But I don't want to be predictable.
That was very deserving.
Good job, buddy.
Yes, just like that slight angle you had was a little bit more of a crosswind.
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit more confusing for you sometimes. Sometimes it makes it easier, but sometimes not. If somehow he wasn't responding, I thought it was harder. So thank you.
another one if you do another short flight.
Tiki.
Good job, buddy. How about a smaller one this time? Good job, bud. Yeah. Wins for these little guys. Oh my gosh. Sorry, Rachel.
No, you're totally good. I'm just warning you. I'm right behind
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Tiki. Can you do it? Come on, bud.
Okay, too close.